Epstein cover-ups, adrenochrome and government complicity, a deep dive with Daniel Leach, host of Studio 1776, and guest Rexton Lotus Justice discuss the Epstein file, cover-ups, adrenochrome and government complicity. Welcome back to Studio 1776. I'm your host, Daniel Leach, and this is our conversation about the Epstein file cover-ups, the elites, and the systems that protect them. I'm joined once again by Rexton Lotus Justice, speaking with me from state prison where her words are monitored, filtered, and sometimes cut short. That alone tells you how dangerous these truths are. A currency of blood. We left off earlier discussing how Epstein's network didn't just operate on money. Rexton and I both agreed, the exchange was something far darker. The currency was human suffering, specifically the blood and trauma of children. This leads us to the disturbing topic of adrenochrome. According to Rexton, it's not just a myth whispered about in conspiracy circles, it's a real drug, harvested through torture, and sold at astronomical prices to the elite. Some call it the most expensive substance on Earth, and strangely, Hollywood has dropped hints about it for decades. From Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas to Disney's Monsters, Inc., the imagery is there. They mock us by hiding the truth in plain sight. Government incentives for trafficking. But it's not just a matter of sick individuals. The system itself is structured to allow this evil to thrive. Rexton pointed to Title IV funding, which financially incentivizes the removal of children from their homes. The late Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer blew the whistle on this years ago, exposing how foster care had been monetized and used as a pipeline for trafficking. She pushed for reform, until she and her husband turned up dead under suspicious circumstances. This isn't a broken system, it's a designed system. Every branch of government plays its part. Legislative writes the loopholes. Judicial hides behind procedure. Executive agencies cover it up. The end result? America functions as a child trafficking state. Surveillance turned against us. Rexton also raised alarms about surveillance. Your phone, your smart TV, your laptop, every device can be a hidden camera. She warned that agencies like the FBI have been accused of using these tools to create exploitation material rather than stop it. Think about that. The very people claiming to protect children may be running the machinery that victimizes them. The ancient roots. This evil isn't new, it's ancient. From the fires of Moloch and Baal to modern-day secret societies, the ritual abuse of children has always been at the heart of corrupt power structures. Even the Bible points to this. Christ's warning about harming children, "Better a millstone be tied around your neck and you be cast into the sea," was no accident. It was a direct condemnation of the same practices that continue today, dressed up in new clothing. As Rexton put it, these people are necromancers and vampires, feeding off life itself. Cut off but not silenced toward the end of our conversation, Rexton's line went dead. Not the first time, not surprising given where he's speaking from and the topics he's daring to expose. But even if they try to cut us off, the truth has a way of leaking out. Here on Studio 7076, we won't stop asking hard questions. We won't stop pulling back the curtain. The American people deserve to know that trafficking, exploitation, and government complicity are not just rumors. They are realities. The only question is, how much longer will we be kept in the dark? Stay tuned, more to come. In the book of Daniel, Daniel the prophet was summoned by the king of Babylon, Belshazzar. As the story goes, while the king was getting drunk off the vessels and goblets that they had looted from the first temple, a hand came out of nowhere and wrote on the wall in a language they didn't know. Allegory for the wicked feeding off of the vessels' bodies of the innocent. You are the temple, the vessel, the grail. They were getting drunk off the vessels of God. Daniel interpreted the writing and it translated to, "God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Thou art weighed in the balances, and art found wanting. Thy kingdom is divided, and given to the Medes and Persians." Generally meaning that Babylon's run as an empire was running short given they had been found in desperate want and lust for drunkenness and shiny things, and that the kingdom would be given back to the people. The vessels or grails they were getting drunk off of can be seen as a multidimensional or multi-applicable allegory, with one facet of it regarding the substance known as adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is openly studied by scientists. It's a man-made of thing, yet more often than not if you type it, autocorrect won't recognize it. Why? This substance is adrenalized blood that can stop capillary bleeding, causing one to appear younger and feel more youthful, especially if it is harvested from a child. This substance is hinted at in Stanley Kubrick's film A Clockwork Orange, where they drink the Moloko, which was a milky white cocktail. Note that Moloko is phonetically related to the name Moloch, which is a name that several living beings have been sacrificed to. The result of ingesting adrenochrome is delusion, derealization, schizophrenia, all of which supposedly can be effectively treated with niacin combined with a substance that works as a sun-damage protectant known as vitamin C. Do you see the allegory to vampires in this? Vampires can't be in the sun, and the very thing that protects against sun damage that would allow a vampire to safely be in the sun is the very thing that would cure the effects of adrenochrome, vitamin C, and niacin. Adrenochrome is oxidized epinephrine, adrenaline. The fear correlates with adrenaline and the fight or flight mode, causing one to be in the lower dimension of Babylon. It's the chemical interface to Babylon. The loosh, as some would call it, which is essentially an energy of fear and disgust that oozes from us, energetically attracting etheric parasites to leech off of our auric field, which over time manifests as external parasites entering our experience here on Earth, as within so without, for better or worse. This is the energy that they bank on even more than money. They bank on this fear energy to hold up the fear-based resonance that is the foundation of their dimension, and without it the parasites can't exist in that capacity. This is the energy they offer up to Baal as a sacrifice, in order for Baal to grant them power over density, which in turn assists them in ruling the physical world. Note the phonetic similarity between the words Moloch, Moloko, film term hinting at adrenochrome, molestation, and molecule. And remember that our English language is strongly Latin-based. It was said in the story of Babylon that it would be language that divided man. This is by the design of those who think they rule the world. They have skewed language for the sake of fragmenting meaning according to their agenda, word magic, which if reversed, broken down, can reverse the curse and grant us clarity as to what is truly what. We speak our existence, for better or worse. The book of Genesis implies how powerful the spoken word can be when mentioning how the Spirit moved upon the waters and spoke, "Let there be light," sparking all of creation via sound or word. These words can work for us or against us. We can either speak a peaceful dimension or a fear-based dimension into being. The tongue is neurologically wired directly to the amygdala, and is what a reptile mainly senses with. This corresponds to the idea of a reptilian always having a tense, active tongue, and that tense tongue causing the amygdala to fire back towards the reptilian brainstem instead of the frontal lobe. In this sense, being a reptilian has been a predominant part of the human condition, and can simply mean one who is in fight or flight mode. We fluctuate in and out of our reptilian nature, according to our free will choice to pick love or fear from moment to moment. In the next section of this posting regarding trauma, I will go into how to calm the tongue, and what the effects of calming the tongue are in regards to silencing the mind and switching out of fight or flight mode. Baal is the lord of bondage. Paying bail is paying bail. A lord is different than omnipresent God, though the lines have been blurred and definitions diluted to cause people to think that lord, lowered, means God. Lord is finite. God is infinite, omnipresent. Landlord or Lord Rothschild, as you can see, has nothing to do with the concept of all as one. Lord, more so, implies the illusion of rank or hierarchy. Finitude comes with limitation, bondage, and in turn suffering in its extreme cases. The very suffering these parasites feed off of. Masonic structures were originally built to harness the Earth's electromagnetic energy via ley lines and Earth vortexes in order to enhance prayer intent to facilitate Jerusalem, peace on earth. Salem or Shalem means peace. Shalom means peace as well. Jerusalem means place of peace. Jeru in Jeremiah derives from the Hebrew Yirmeah, Yirmeyahu, meaning the Lord loosens, God will uplift, or Yah exalts. These Masonic structures, ley lines and vortex points were later used as places of evil prayers, what we know as human sacrifice and torture. Pedophilia is common in the Catholic Church, as you know. If they molest a child in the church, the energy loosh will leave the child and be directed out and through the needle or spire on top of the church and out into the cosmos, and will travel the ley lines power grid of the earth, causing the energy of fear and molestation to spread across the planet. This wasn't the initial use of these Masonic structures. Masonry itself wasn't evil to begin with. It too was hijacked just as the Templars were, and Freemasonry was actually an offshoot of Templarism. Masonry, not Freemasonry but Masonry, is older than the Templars though, and likely goes back further than what we can historically trace. Now through Roman maritime law we see the exchange and shipment of goods or chattel ranging from oil to rice to spices to humans. It's by design that there are two different terms for the same things. The language we use has been highly fragmented, pointing at the concept of language dividing man as mentioned in regards to Babylon. Babel meaning confused, which is where we get the word Babel from. With that being said, human trafficking and slavery are the same thing at their roots. All forms of human trafficking qualify as slavery, though not all forms of slavery qualify as human trafficking in the same way that all apples are fruits, but all fruits are apples. Slavery being the overlying context. The orchestrators, if the Babylonian society would like us to see slavery through a very narrow lens, so they teach us about only one facet of slavery to divert our attention away from its various other forms that we instead call usury, debt slavery, indentured servitude, and human trafficking. Whether it be them harvesting the fear energy from raping and torturing humans, or them selling humans and their body parts and secretions to perpetuate their currency, the trafficking is at the very root of what holds up their power over the geomantic energy grid of the planet. However, this grid can also be programmed with loving intent. It is open to the intent of the user. Once again, this Babylonian construct is not what the original Templars and Masons intended when they set up the systems that Rome hijacked and has used. Electromagnetism, aka power, is subject to the intent of the user for better or worse in this was. It is programmed by intent, undifferentiated and indifferent until it is programmed via intent ritual. If we wish to not experience what some call reptilians or parasitic entities, whether internal or external, literal or metaphorical, then the change will have to come from within ourselves by no longer centering in that reptilian brainstem that we all have, that which the amygdala neurologically fires towards while in fight or flight mode. When the amygdala fires frontally towards the frontal lobe, we exit fight or flight and center more in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the bodily setting where the body knows exactly what to do to fully restore and repair itself, mainly through the DNA. An overactive amygdala can actually deconstruct DNA over time, and the release of oxytocin, the love hormone, can reconstruct DNA. This correlates with the fact that the frequency 528 Hz can heal DNA, and has also been proven to significantly increase the release of oxytocin in the body. Our DNA is our ancestral link, and all DNA is from one degree to another in quantum entanglement, causing it to be a network between the etheric and physical, acting as the interface to what some call the Hall of Records, or the Akashic Records. Akash meaning space. So, the records stored in space, which is all around us and within us all, equally and at all times. All matter consists of atoms, and atoms are 99.99999% space, making the idea of density an illusion. A very convincing illusion. As mentioned, an overactive amygdala can deconstruct DNA over time. Another way that we deconstruct our DNA is through verbal consent. We speak our existence as hinted at in the beginning of the book of Genesis. In the case of deconstructing our DNA through the spoken word, I mean speaking joinder to a fight-or-flight-based system. The words I am are power. Not just powerful meaning of power, but truly power itself. The embodiment. When someone says I am, then states their middle name in between their first and last name, they are cutting themselves off from their family crest unless they reprogram their intent in speaking that with consciousness. Consciousness and intent can rewrite all spiritual contracts and systems. The middle name is also known as the baptismal name, and was originally a Roman Catholic invention where one would add a biblical character's name to their name. This can subject one to Rome instead of their sovereign family crest of natural law. You are signified as your first name, and your family crest is signified by your last name, and adding a middle name puts a wedge between the two, meaning a wedge between you and your family crest, Christo/crown. To add to this, the Bible has been copyrighted by those who rewrote it, Roman Catholicism, and therefore identifying with a character in one of the rewrites that one presumptively goes by as opposed to the original Bible subjects one to the work of the copywriter, meaning it is consent to being ruled by Rome. The same Roman system persecuted put the Christ/crest we know as Yeshua and his crest, bloodline, that entangled with Mary Magdalene. If you change any little thing about the universal truth, it is no longer the universal truth and is therefore open to being copyrighted. How many rewrites of the original Bible have there been by now? This is intentional and has been used as a form of baiting people into Roman jurisdiction via their own consent. It must always be through our own consent, given free will cannot and will not be violated. It never has. It's just that we've made spiritual contracts or karmic agreements that we were either unconscious of while forming them, or in some cases we forgot all about them. So to recap, for the sake of this being integrated, unconsciously creating joinder with the all-caps name diminishes the status of the living being by way of their own presumptive agreement, and the baptismal name, when unconsciously identified as, causes one to be a character in a rewritten book that Rome has copyrighted. The character in a book is subject to the author. The author has the authority over the character, to make that character whatever they wish to be. Such is life, or the illusion of, when we agree to minimizing ourselves to a two dimensions, paper of papacy. This whole joinder-based construct can be seen streaming further back to the Phoenicians, a maritime trade civilization that invented the modern format we know as the 26-letter alphabet. They invented this paper-based system with the intent to simply keep their goods organizing while shipping them. And later this was used to keep humans organized and bonded to a corporatized copy in two dimensions, the basis of legislation. All legislation is based on paperwork. That's all legislation is. The documentation of opinions that are mistaken as law, such as how far one should park from the curb. Legislation is arbitrary for the sake of capital gain. It is not geared towards morality. It's geared towards sustaining income to a certain group who orchestrates the system and pulls the strings of those who we think are the real legislators. This comes full circle to how the Catholic Church is still in operation, and legal, though unlawful, protection by the maritime courts. They own the maritime courts. Good luck going into someone's house and telling them where they put their dishes, right? I hope this chapter brought some clarity on how joinder to this Roman Babylonian corporate construct can impact our DNA, open us up to being enslaved, and minimize our awareness of our multidimensionality, where we live in a dimension based on trauma. One might go by a name, but that doesn't mean that they actually are the name. Just because I might be using a hammer doesn't mean that I am a hammer. A name is just a tool, or means for specification. If I identify as the hammer just because I'm using it, then I limit my experience as a multidimensional being who has free will and is unbinded by the illusion of density. The very density that through contract brings the experience of a global society where the evils mentioned in this chapter not only occur, but fuel the structure that is ruling the global society.